Old habits die hard, is it true? But why? Why do old habits die hard? Because you are nothing but your old habits. If they die, you will die. You don't have anything more, you don't have anything plus, you are just your old habits, old patterns. You are a mechanism, not yet a man. That's why old habits die hard. It is very rare that a man exists, very few and far between. A Buddha is a real man, authentic. A Zarathustra is a real man, a man worth calling a man. Ordinary humanity is just robot life. It lives unconsciously, it lives mechanically, and habits are all that you have. If you drop all your habits, you will simply start evaporating. You will not find yourself at all. What are you? Just watch, and you will find a bundle of old habits. You don't yet have anything more. That's the whole effort of meditation, to bring something more to your life, which is not a habit, something which is spontaneous, something which is non-mechanical, something which transforms you from a robot into a conscious being. George Gurdjieff used to say that every man is not born with a soul. On the surface it appears not believable because for centuries, you have been told by the priests that everybody is born with a soul and you believe in it. It is comfortable to believe that you have a soul. It feels very good, cozy, warm, that deep inside you, you have a soul, eternal, immortal, and Gurdjieff says you don't have a soul at all. You are just hollow within. There is nothing inside you, just habits and habits, a cluster of habits, and at the very center there is nobody. The house is empty, the master has not yet come or is fast asleep. Gurdjieff is right, you are only potentially a human being. A possibility is there, but the possibility can be easily missed, and millions of people miss it, because to become conscious, to become a soul, arduous effort is needed. It is an uphill task. To remain in your habits is cheap, easy, downhill. Gravitation is enough, it goes on pulling you. It is like when you are going downhill in a car and you turn the engine off. You don't need any gas for going downhill, the pull of gravity is enough, but that cannot be down when you are moving uphill, then gas will be needed. You will need some integrity, some power, and only consciousness releases power. Consciousness is the key, the ignition key, that releases power in you, and you become capable of soaring high. Otherwise, this old saying is right, old habits die hard, because there is nobody who can kill those old habits. It is difficult, it is very hard. You have to be conscious, alert, on guard. You have to go on remembering, and remembrance is the most difficult thing in existence. Habits can be dropped not by fighting against them. That's what people ordinarily do. If they want to change a habit, they create another habit against it to fight with it. They move from one habit into another habit. If you want to stop smoking, you start chewing gum. Now it is as foolish as the other. You change one habit for another, but you remain the same unconscious person. To drop the habit and not to compensate for it, and to remain utterly aware and alert so that you don't start moving into another substitute, is one of the hardest things in life, but it is not impossible otherwise. There will be no possibility of a Buddha, of a Christ, of a Krishna. Because Buddhas happen, it is possible. Although difficult, very difficult, a great challenge has to be accepted, and all those who have any respect for themselves, always accept the challenge of the greatest, the hardest thing. To reach the moon is not so hard, it is not so difficult. To go to Everest is child's play compared with remembering constantly what you are doing, being aware. But the day awareness starts happening, you know the ecstasy of being, the bliss of being, you know something that cannot be imagined. It is so vast, it is so inexhaustible. Once you enter into it, it is forever yours. Buddha calls it the eternal law, Jesus calls it the kingdom of God, that is his expression for it. But one has to become alert enough, aware enough, so that one can disidentify oneself with the habits, with the patterns, structures, that have become ingrained in your being. This very rich but very miserly old man is dying, so he calls to his deathbed 3 men of the cloth, a rabbi, a priest, and a minister. When they arrive he says, "Gentlemen, you know the old saying, you can't take it with you. Well, taking it with me is precisely what I propose to do, and because of your religious backgrounds, I feel I can trust you. Here, in these 3 boxes, is the greater part of all my wealth. My dying wish is that each of you places 1 box in my grave." All 3 agree to his request, upon which the dying man distributes the boxes and dies. Sure enough, on the day of the funeral, they all show up and each places a box in the grave. Later on they decide to go to a nearby pub for a drink, where, after a long silence, the priest at last speaks. "Friends," says the priest, "I am afraid I have a confession to make. I did not put all the money in the grave. With contributions falling off lately and the church in need of repair, it seemed such a sin not to put some of the money where it will do some good." Then the minister says, "Father, I am glad you spoke up. As you know, I am the head of several charities, and, likewise, it seemed to me such a sin to just bury all that money, so I too kept some of it, of course, a small portion, to help these very worthwhile and needy charities of mine." After another long silence, the priest and the minister ask the rabbi, who has been looking out the window all this time, what he thinks about their actions. "Well," says the rabbi, "I must say that, I am deeply surprised, not to say shocked. As a rabbi, respecting the wishes of a dying man, I could only put in the full amount. In fact, I gave him my own personal check. Whether you are a rabbi or not does not make much difference. Old habits die hard, but they can die, and you have to make all the efforts so that they die, because in their death, is the beginning of your real life.